So welcome back, guys. I hope you had a good conversation in your breakout rooms. Great. No big fights, no black eyes on the shoulder. Okay, so what we might do is just maybe get a little sense of, I have David standing here beside me to answer all the hard questions, right? So we might just take a little bit of feedback from yourselves and from our own room here. Okay, so we'll get Bernadette going on our in-room here, and then we'll turn to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I suppose maybe I should add in a word that David Greenwood, it's not only a method. People see it as a method.
Yes.
You know, what method are you using? You're a qualitative concept. So it's a bigger thing, but it is also a method. It's not a method.
Okay. Yeah.
And obviously, if you're doing any kind of piece of work, whether you're going for a publication, you have to show that there's a path between your question, what you did, with whom, how, to whatever it is you're coming up with. And that has to be transparent, and so that an editor or reviewer or an examiner can say, that makes sense. I see where you've come from. I see why you did it. I have questions about what you did and what you didn't do, whatever, but basically I see the logic and the transparency of your move from your question or whatever it is that's going on, from your experience to your judgment. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Any other questions from in-house here for David that I'd like to ask?
You know, insofar as action research, one of its values is to be participatory, that it's a we thing. And yet education is institutionalized in structures where there's huge disparity in power. And how can you honor that participatory spirit if you're teaching small children, or even in third level where you have a lot of assessment power potentially? I mean, I arrived at my own answer in my own context, but I'd just be interested to hear how can you be participatory and still be the teacher?
Well, I think being participatory is obviously is a broad span, and obviously in a certain context, participatory has different types of meanings and so on. And maybe in a particular project, there's different levels of participation. Not everybody participates in the same way. So I suppose the starting point really is your value. How do I do search with? Who? What does with mean, and with whom? And I suppose I would always ask this, the old question, like who you're working with and for what purpose. And you know, the old OD thing was who will help it happen, who will just let it happen, who will help it happen, who will make it happen. And you might have different groups of people or different individuals in different categories, but that's part of your understanding of your local context. And I suppose one of the things I do say that action research is for grown-ups. You have to be streetwise to do action research. So you in your educational school, is you assess your knowledge, and that's part of the insider pre-understanding stuff. You have a sense of who's who and who's what and where the various powers are and how that gets exercised. Now that's part of your first person and second person inquiry, is to check out that you're correct on that, and that the person you think has all the power actually doesn't, or the person you didn't realize has a lot of power does, whatever that kind of power might be. And of course there's different types of power and so on. So that's part of your understanding of your context. And testing it out as you go along and asking people, would you be part of this, or what do you think of it, and so on. And I had a student once, and he spent 6 months getting his group together, and then he said, I've got my group together now, I can start. And I said, no, you're 6 months getting your group together as part of your thesis. As part of the effort. It's the real, I mean, action research is real life stuff. And of course, the great thing about action research is everything is data. So nothing happening is data. Fights are data. Apathy is data. So you have to work with whatever's there. And that's one of we had this conversation there earlier on, that's one of the problems about other forms of research, is they ignore all that. They seem to, you know, we got a group together and we worked through stuff and we came up with this. Well, I doubt it was as simple as that. And so on. And who were these people and how did you get them to listen to each other? All those that's part of the bread and butter and the learning and the practical knowing that emerges from action research. But action research is research with your wellies on, you know, and so on. And there's an article by Peter Reason. I was at the conference where he gave it, but the published version excluded this. It said action research is research with the farts and the grunts in it. But obviously that didn't make the published paper.
Oh, fabulous.
I just want to say hello to Jack, because I just see you there, Jack. Long time no see.
Good to see you.
Great. Okay, so we're anybody in the online? Okay, so meanwhile, Jack, did you want to say something, or are you just saying hi, or what are you doing? Oh no, that's just my thing.
No, well, the person who's going to speak from our group is going to make the point.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So who would like to speak then?
That's me, Maureen Trailer here.
Good on you, Trailer. Lovely to see you. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Although I've been put in my place by Jack at this stage. You know, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Look, we had some discussion, and I noted it in the Google Doc. We gave some examples of actually realizing that, you know, when you're involved in action research, you're a participant as well, and that this can have a positive or a negative impact. Something else that cropped up, and it was a point strongly made by Jack, was, you know, this idea that we need to access all of this evolving embodied knowledge and make it public. So, you know, we agreed that it seems that we may be back to square one each time. This is more of a global question, I suppose. Is there a way in which we can find a way to move the story on every time we meet at NERI, and maybe that NERI can help to make it public, that public expression? So that's one area for the discussion, perhaps. And in fairness to Suresh, who was also in the group, he suggested that writing in a journal is a way to express it in some format, I suppose. So is there a question in that? Is there a way for us to bring our embodied knowledge and make it more public, rather than just talking about the same things again and again? I'm not suggesting that happened in other groups, but I'm making the point that was part of our discussion.
Do you have an answer?
Well, that's obviously a point of discussion, more of exploration for you. Is NERI actually an action research project itself? You know, you meet, you talk, you reflect, then what? So, I mean, do you only go through the two cycles, experience and reflection, or do you? So that's a matter for seeing, well, what is NERI, and can it be an action research project in itself? The development of this community and its output, then what you want to say to contribute to a wider audience.
Katrina.
David, I know you're involved in RG as well. Have they an action research agenda?
Who?
Your group?
Oh no, we just meet. We're just a kind of, it's a jamboree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your brains
Yeah, no, we meet and people, then we go, and I've not seen or heard of anybody since.
Okay.
And we hope we'll do it next year. We have to see how we can organize it. But basically, we don't try to do anything. It's a space.
Yeah.
Our colloquium is a space.
Yeah. Whereas I would consider in NERI that we definitely would consider it an action research project.
Yeah.
We would, you know, and we think about
What's the practical knowing then that that's emerging?
Well,
Sure.
I suppose that knowledge at one answer is that definitely knowledge is relational, and the interactions between people is crucial.
Yeah.
And we invite people to continue to contribute on those online documents.
Yes.
And to carry on the conversation afterwards
Yeah.
on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually for the online people, and indeed ourselves here, I will put the link to the online documents up when we come towards our break at 10 past.